gonna die. Going too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course. And today we are going to take a look at a replay in the Donskoy. You'll notice as well that I am grouped up with Pink in his Grosse Kurfürst, I believe. And then, of course, Bad Panda in his Donskoy as well. Now, as the title would suggest, this is going to be a fairly decent battle, what with getting Solo Warrior and all. And this is actually the first Solo Warrior that I've ever gotten, I believe anyway. Probably. So it's going to be a decent battle. Now, the captain I have in the Donskoy is not actually trained on the ship. So I don't have Concealment Expert, I don't have Demolition Expert and all that lovely stuff that I would normally have, because that captain is on the Moskva right now, obviously, and my Chapyev captain moved up into the Donskoy, so still retraining, and this is the first battle actually I've played in the Donskoy since buying the Moskva, so wasn't too sure how it was going to end up. Yeah, tier 9 game, so it could have been a little worse in terms of tiering. I think it was tier 9. So not too bad. We could definitely do some things here. Now, my original plan was to stay in and behind B. That's what I was sort of thinking on doing, and I did want to stay near Pink, because Pink is in the battleship, and I figure that, you know, if at the opening stages, you know, the battleships are usually the first people to engage, and with the range of the Donskoy, I can usually engage as well, so staying close to a battleship in these opening stages is pretty critical as well. Plus, the battleship, you know, may need the extra AA support. You never know. So it's good enough to be there. Now, we do see another enemy Donskoy there off in the distance, and I look and I notice I'm going to crash right into Pink, so I immediately let Pink know I'm going to crash into you, and I am so sorry. But yeah, you can see it didn't turn out too bad, because Pink was all over it. He saw it coming long before I did, and was able to turn, and, you know, just a slight little scratch of paint there. Anyway, we have the enemy Donskoy off in the distance, and I was just thinking, the thought just popped into my head. One of the comments on the Moskva video was that I should try the armor piercing with the Moskva. Now, I have been experimenting with the armor piercing of the Moskva, and initial assessments are, oh my god, it is amazing. Just amazing. Yeah, it's pretty damn decent. I mean, not too shabby at all. But anyway, back to this replay. We do see that we have a number of enemy battleships there. Well, battleships and a bunch of other ships just popping up, right? So trying to choose the target. Now, another thing I'm trying to do in this battle is two things, actually. The campaigns are in the game now. If anyone played on public test server, you guys would have been exposed to this already. Now they're finally on live server, and you know, I love it. It's great. It's great to see it on live server, and I do really find that I'm, you know, really enjoying just keeping these things in mind while I'm playing battle and trying to achieve them, like specifically getting the 200 hits in one battle. I'm going to try and do that with the Donskoy here in this battle. Another thing I'm trying to do is work on the damage to the Japanese ships in general. I forget how much damage it is, but I'm pretty close to it, so working on that. And then the third task that I'm working on is be the top, like within the top 5 experience earners of your team or something like that. So, you know, obviously I took the other campaigns, not the campaigns meant for, you know, new or newish players. I went with the other campaigns because I really want to try and get to the end of those and see, well, at least see how far I can get with them anyway. So working on that. But still, very nice to see that in the game now as well. You can see that my team is doing fairly well at this point. We haven't lost any ships, so that's not too bad at all. We have A and C, and we are still fighting it out over B. You can see the majority of the enemy team is concentrated in and around B. So this is where, you know, the majority of the battle is taking place here as well. Now, if we look at the minimap, we'll note my plan of staying close to Pink is pretty much working out. We still have Pink there nearest to me, and Bad Panda is down in the south supporting those guys down there, helping to defend C. In the meantime, you know, I'm up here just trying to put shots down range, as many as I possibly can, cursing the fact that I don't have Demolition Expert and Concealment Expert, because I'm not able to stealth fire as much as I would like to, but still, it just means that I have to maneuver around a lot more on the battle, or in the battle, to ensure that I don't take as many hits as, you know, if I just sail in a straight line, right? Because that's ultimately what you do not want to do, is sail in a straight line in this ship. It's just a bad general idea. I'm trying to remain angled but still keep the maximum amount of firepower downrange. Being aware too as to when enemy ships are firing at me, right? Like right now no one is actually firing at me. Everyone's more concerned on pink, which is another benefit of, you know, staying close to a battleship when you're in a cruiser, because the enemies will generally see the battleship as being the bigger threat, especially the enemy battleships. And that's usually the wrong thing to think. It's the cruiser that you really do want to worry about. Because it will just burn you down. And yes, one of my allies did just get detonated. It's unfortunate, but it happens. Why am I seeing so many naked ships in so many games now? And that's just another thing that just popped into my head now, looking out over there, and I think that was a Baltimore that we saw. What is going on? I mean, I know it cost a bit of money, but still, I really think the benefit is there for, at the very least, the reduce of detectability. I mean, the chance of incoming shots not hitting you, I don't know how well that works with the math and whatnot, but I'd be interested in knowing, because I've heard some conflicting things, especially things that said, you know, basically it's useless and that doesn't even matter, but whatever. You can see that we were focusing on one enemy battleship. Now we switched over to this German battleship as well, because the German battleship is sailing broadside. Huge target that I can most definitely land hits on, and I'm just trying to, you know, get hits. I'm not even concerned too much about the fires, because I don't have Demolition Expert, so I know that I'm not going to be setting a whole bunch of them. I'm really just trying to be aware of how many shells are landing on target, because I want that to get over the 200 mark so I can finish that task and move on to another one. Circling around, still staying kind of behind B, but, you know, kind of moving off to the north as well. You can see the enemies are really, you know, staying in and behind B, and right now I do have them at a good range where I can fire out at them. You know, I do get spotted every now and then, but because of some of the terrain here, you know, that usually goes away quick. But I'm also able to support some of my teammates, but, you know, I'm still pretty far back, so I do want to close the distance between myself and pink so that I can get in and actually start, you know, playing a little more aggressive here at this point, I guess, in the battle, because we're about midway through, right? We have lost some ships. We're about even in terms of losses right now. You can see the enemy is capping A, we're capping B, but we still do have a secure hold over C. Bad Panda is still down there at C, kind of, you know, poking at the enemy over there as well. I've got this enemy North Carolina, and I'm going to try to set fire to the enemy North Carolina, burn the player down, and just land as many shots as I possibly can. Only sitting on about 26,000 damage right now as well, so a little disappointing. At least I was a little disappointed. Because I know that I should probably do a little more, right? But again, I'm working my way closer in this Donskoy. Very hard to get yourself into position at a closer range when you're in a higher tier cruiser, because people are going to be shooting at you, and I've got the North Carolina right now to deal with. You can see, you know, dodging the shells and working, so trying to work my way so that I can get my bow pointed towards pink is the ultimate goal, right? I may not be able to take the most direct path, but that's what I'm going to try and do. I don't have, you know, because my commander isn't trained, I don't have the extra radar charge as well, so that kind of sucked, but I'm holding on to my last one right now, just waiting, you know, for a good opportunity to actually get that fired off as I get a little closer into pink here as well. You can see that we did manage to cap the B zone, which is fantastic. We really do need this B cap here as well, because the enemy has A, and we do want to be aware as well, you know, with the enemy having A, that they could come out from around A and come in behind us and flank us that way as well. So we do need to sort of pay attention to this. We do have some enemies, you know, trying to get B back, or at least putting some pressure on B, and this is a great situation of, you know, we don't necessarily have to hold, or, you know, keep the point so that we're getting points from it, but we definitely do have to defend the cap as well, right? Prevent the enemy from taking it at the very least. We can see pink there as well, and I'm going to turn in and try and get a little closer, because these enemies are basically on the run right now, and we can see that this North Carolina, yes, is basically almost gone, right? The fires are burning the player out, and there we go. We don't have to worry about that player anymore. And then we can see the enemy Baltimore there off in the distance. Turns out there was an enemy destroyer near the enemy North Carolina as well that also pops up, and I still do have my single charge left of radar, so that's not too bad at all. We can see the enemy destroyer over there, right? And I'm trying to line up on the player, but then blam, enemy Nagato. This is a pretty easy target to you know, get some hits on and rack up some damage here as well. So I'm going to turn in, use the island that I have here as cover. A mistake that I do see some people make in a cruiser anyway at this sort of critical stage, and I never like to stop when I'm in a cruiser. Never like to stop when I'm in a cruiser, unless, you know, I'm in smoke or it's a really advantageous with the way that the terrain is. But on this map, everyone does seem to gravitate towards that island there that's on my stern, and they do seem to come to a stop. Now, this might work in a battleship at times. Obviously, it's going to work in a destroyer, I mean, with your smoke and whatnot, and British cruisers, but in most other ships, it's not actually that great of an idea, like specifically your cruisers. It just doesn't make sense at all if you're going to stop there, you know, unless you do have you're in a division with a destroyer and you're coordinating with this player, you know, to give you smoke. It would make sense, especially if you had a Chapiev. If you could get a Chapiev there, cover that Chapiev in smoke, and the Chapiev is popping radar, or even maybe the Donskoy, I mean, depending. It would work out very, very well, I do believe, but you have to have that coordination in order to pull it off. Without the coordination, it just isn't going to work out so well. You can't rely on those random chances, because you know, it's a pretty exposed area, especially well, it's exposed in that the enemy can easily outflank you if you just stop yourself there. But anyway, we are trying to still defend B, and in the meantime, of course, I do have the enemy battleship in my sight, so I'm going to try and rain down some shots on the player, do a bit of damage, hopefully set some fires. That would be ideal. We see the enemy Thotgor there off in the distance, and I really did want to take out that player. And on top of the Thotgor, we do have an enemy Bismarck over there as well. I think it's a Bismarck, but we do have, you know, a few things to worry about over there, and I haven't taken too much damage so far this battle, so it's pretty good. Hit point conservation is going excellent for the battle here as well, sitting at about 51,000 damage, so I definitely could be doing a bunch more damage, but there's still time left, right? And right now our team isn't doing so great. We have a lot of ships that are on very low health indeed, and you can see that, you know, some of our ships are dying. Pink let me know that there were some destroyers here in front of us. I asked him how close they were. He told me it was like 9 kilometers, so I instantly popped the last charge on my radar. I knew that that last charge was going to come in handy, and it sure did indeed. So we managed to take out one of the enemy destroyers, and now we just have one more that's pretty close in. But I am going to switch back over here to this enemy Bismarck, because this enemy Bismarck is going to move in and contest C shortly, and I wanted to have the player set on fire at the very least. We can see some torpedoes coming in from one of those enemy destroyers. Hopefully it was the one that's already dead. Or, well, I guess the one that's already alive, because that would mean that that player is still reloading and we wouldn't have to worry about torpedoes for a little while longer. So yeah, hopefully it's from the player that's still alive. We can see a few more shots went out on the Nagato there. We do still have the enemy German battleship there off in the distance. I thought the player was going in reverse for whatever reason, some crazy. It's probably like the 23 frames per second that I'm getting. It's probably what it's doing it. And by the way, it only happens when I'm recording. Yeah, when I'm not recording, you know, get a solid 60. But like I say, that is going to be corrected probably in the new year. Yeah, around Christmas time, we'll say. It'll be good. We do have the enemy German battleship there off in the distance. We can see the player set on fire. So this is fantastic. We can let those fires burn. I think it was 2 fires that I managed to set on that enemy player, so that is great. We see the enemy Nagato on very low health. Now I really did want to kill this player. Pink is down, Bad Panda's down. There's only 4 allies remaining, and you can see we are recapping A, which is good, but the enemy is taking C. Bad Panda let me know, to switch over and get a few shots off at the enemy Thotgor or Bismarck, just to reset the cap at C to prevent them again from capping it, right? To keep giving us the lead in points. We see the enemy Nagato there off the distance, so we do put a few shots into that player as well, hoping to be able to set the player on fire once again. We see the enemy Bismarck over here. The Bismarck is still on fire. One of my allies' fires must be. I took a huge hit there from one of the enemy battleships. Probably got a citadel on me from the rear, which is most possible. Do set the enemy Bismarck on fire, which is fantastic. So now this player is going to be losing maybe hopefully 1,000 hit points here a second, which would be great. Meaning that within I don't know how many hit points actually the Bismarck has. Can't say. Maybe within a minute 20, we will have that player gone. We do see my friendly Fletcher there, right? Very low health indeed. Was hoping that that player would be able to hang on, which, you know, would really help us out here. We do continue to reset the cap there at C, but the enemy Bismarck didn't have any of those points. It's really the Thotgor over here that has all of the points. Now, in the meantime, my allies did manage to cap A, so even though we lose C, we still retain the lead in caps overall, which is good. Still, we only have 4 allied ships remaining, one of which is this Fletcher who has like 2 health remaining or something crazy. So things aren't looking, you know, as good as they once were. We can see the enemy Nagato moving into position, so we're going to throw a few shots downrange at this player here as well. I'm trying to keep a pretty decent distance away from the enemy, but still trying to maintain some sort of closeness to the remaining allies that I have, just to make sure that I'd be able to protect them if need be. And that's something that the Donskoy really does quite well, like an Overwatch position. It's very, very good at it. Just sort of sitting off medium range, firing in, yes. Most of the Russian cruisers, in fact, are very, very good at this, right up, well, probably all of them, we'll say. Very good at the Overwatch sort of role, not too bad at all. You can see that we are firing in on the enemy, what is that? The enemy Nagato still, yes. The enemy destroyer there pops up. We can see the Thotgor off in the distance, and I was trying and hoping maybe to get a few shots off of the enemy Thotgor, but I mean, this destroyer is just too much of a good target to fire at, right? Engines are out, so if I can just get a few shots downrange, hopefully I'll be able to get the player gone. Now, if we take a look at how many shots I have landed, we can see that I think I'm over 200 now at this point in time, so that's fantastic. I was ecstatic at this, and that's when I realized that we might actually lose this battle, and so I really, really need to be conscious of that and try not to get killed, especially considering the amount of enemy battleships that are remaining, right? We have the Nagato, we still have that Bismarck. Things aren't looking so good at us. Not the Bismarck, that's a Großer Kurfürst. The cruiser, though, or my ally there that they just killed, did send out some torpedoes. Now, those torpedoes are going to be critical to the overall success of this match here. Now we see the Nagato turning out of B because the enemy now has C and B. We only retain A, so we lost our cap advantage, but we do still have a nice healthy lead in points. There we go. 4 torpedoes from my ally Superstar there, who launched those just before death, meaning that I can swoop in and hopefully set this Großer Kurfürst on fire and just burn this player down, because if I can do this, we might get victory, because this is what we really need. I wasn't too keen on the whole idea of running away, just leaving the enemy to, or leaving it to chance. I really did want to make sure that we secure victory here. So now I'm the only player remaining against the 4 remaining enemies. So hopefully I'm not going to die. Well, I mean, by the title of the video, we already know that I'm not going to die. It turned out quite well. So we managed to set the Großer Kurfürst on fire there, and that player is just going to begin to burn down. I noticed that the player does not have the repair ready to go, most likely used when he ate all those torpedoes. Again, those torpedoes come in to save me here, and I can just let the Großer Kurfürst burn down while I get into a better position, hopefully to be able to deal with the Nagato. Keep in mind, one of the players remaining is that Thotgor, who is very, very low on health as well, so there's the possibility that I might be able to take that player down. Now we have the Nagato over there turning, and we can see the Nagato is turning back towards the north of the map. So I'm not going to head that way. I'm going to head to the south. My plan was to move into C and to cap C. That's what I was going to try to do, but I did want to stay near the islands, obviously, as I make my way towards C. Now there we go. The enemy Thotgor pops up, and I start, as soon as I see that player, Pink and Panda let me know, and obviously, my team is, encouraging me not to fight, asking maybe that I should just run away, and then the enemy Thotgor pops up. So all I need to do is land a few hits onto this enemy Thotgor, and victory will be ours. Suddenly everything goes out of sight, comes back in, thank God, because I don't have any more radar charge whatsoever. I used those early on, and again, the captain is not trained on the Donskoy, so we get a few more shots in on the enemy Thotgor, does a bit of damage. Thotgor sets me on fire, put the fire out because I'm trying not to get killed here, land on the Thotgor, and that pushes us over 1,000 points, and we get the victory. Man, it was a pretty decent battle. pretty decent battle indeed. And like I say, this was the first time that I've ever earned myself a solo warrior. Now, I also did finish one of the tasks, came very close to finishing another one of my tasks, and earned progress towards, the third task that I'm working on as well. So that is not too shabby. Earned myself a bit of credits and some experience there. You can see wasn't top of the team overall, probably because how standoffish I was there at the beginning. But still, hopefully, and glad I was able to come in at the end and not drop the ball. We can see the damage was spread out amongst the enemy ships, really not doing too much damage to any one specific player on the enemy team. 182,000 credits is what I end up walking away with, and 5,400 experience. I mean, it's all free experience now at this point in time, except the commander experience, right? I do really want to get that commander trained up on the Donskoi as much as I possibly can to get all those beautiful things back that the Moskva commander has. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying the Tier 7 contest we have running. Remember, that is running until December 4th, I think, Sunday, 12 midnight, Atlantic Standard Time, so be sure to submit your replays, or not your replays, God, your screenshots to thotgor1@gmail.com. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back to the video giving away gold, and the contest is explained in that video. Anyway, as always, folks, be sure to leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Be sure to hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you are not a subscriber, and as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.